Just thought about this last night with food and with fertilizer shortages and other shortages. Actually, probably the small farmers that can make their own fertilizer from animals and retain their own water from rain, let's say, they might be the most stable going forward instead of the big, grocery stores and everything.
Yeah, we definitely need more small farmers. It's just that fertilizer thing you speak of is a big deal. I didn't realize the guy that came up with NPK, commercial fertilizer, won a Nobel Prize. That's how we feed the masses. We make it from natural gas, and there's almost a war on that stuff now.
The Haber-Bosch process.
Yeah, right. So
it's a really good book actually called The Alchemy of Air by Thomas Hagen, and it talks about how the Haber-Bosch process came about, and the world was only really able to sustain about 1 billion people until we learned to make artificial fertilizer. So if we don't have enough, our population is 8 billion. That's not good.
They just the World Food Program, WFP, the UN's WFP just cut Africa's food subsidized for 50%. So it's going to affect 3 out of every 4 people, and they're already starving, and I got into the article a little more, and it wasn't, the donations were there. They're not being able to resource the food to actually get to the product. So it's starting now. It's already starting. We're in the descent. I don't know what else to do besides the stuff we're talking about.
Well, that's why we're talking about it. I want to give some practical advice. So let's go back to chickens. Can someone start with 1 chicken? How many chickens do they need to have enough eggs to eat them regularly? What are some of the things you've learned about dealing with chickens? Let's get into a little bit of the details, so people can learn from your experience.
Chicken, sure. It's really not that much to it. It's really not like people think. They can live in a small area. I built a big coop that I could walk in. I didn't have to, duck down low or anything. There's several different ways to do it. I would suggest more than 1 chicken. They get lonely. 1 chicken will get lonely and probably won't lay very many eggs. If you have a chicken's usually good for about an egg a day, not quite an egg a day, but I think it's like 280 eggs a year on average or something like that, maybe 260. Some of them are 300. So, if you want, and if you've got 6 chickens, having a dozen is really not that much bigger of a deal.
Okay.
And they put themselves up at night. It's you got to make sure their coop's clean. That's a big one. Making sure their coop's clean. We've never had a sick chicken, maybe one time, and ivermectin knocked it out. That stuff's really good. But Let's see, chickens. I don't know what I could tell you. I've got videos on it.
Well, just like when you. How many chickens did you? What surprised you about having chickens? Was it easier than you thought? Harder than you thought? Yeah.
Everything's trying to get them. That's the biggest problem.
Everyone wants to eat them. Everything.
Everything. Raccoons. We had a fox get into our chicken house, and I put chicken wire around the coop, right? Well, chicken wire is not to keep varmints out. It's to keep chickens in. A fox ripped a hole in that chicken coop and killed 10 of 14 chickens. Yeah, so don't make that mistake. Use hardware cloth. Hardware cloth is a much thicker wire, and they can't really rip through that. Chicken wires, you wouldn't think they'd rip through it, but it was nothing for that fox to rip through it, and they won't quit killing it until they're just tired of doing it, I guess. It was devastating. I was at work, and my wife was really upset. Everything's out to get them, and food and water, they need some laying boxes to lay their eggs in, and I really try to encourage people to do that. Now,
what was it like when you had the first few eggs from your chickens? Like, did they taste better, different? Or what was that experience like?
The first few eggs?
Yeah, the first few eggs. Like, did you feel like a rush? Like, I did it, or how did you feel?
Yeah, it's cool to get your first few eggs. You'll notice immediately how they cook up so much better. The white's not runny. It gets really thick and fluffy when you're cooking it. The yolk stays together. My favorite way to eat a fresh egg is poached. When you poach a fresh egg hot out of the chicken's butt, it will stay. It's like you're boiling it out of the shell. It's really good. That's
okay.
Yeah, it's strange. Having fresh food is really, really, really rewarding. It still is. It's still, we covet these eggs. We give them to my mom. She hoards them. They're really good because our chickens eat kale. They eat everything that comes out of the garden. Everything comes out of the kitchen. Any kind of scraps, their own shells, you name it.
Oh, really? They can eat all that stuff?
You throw it out there and they will eat it. And
That's
it's
cool.
like they're like composting egg factories. It's really
That's very cool. You said that an average chicken, if kept well, will lay about was it right? 280 eggs a year?
well. Every chicken's different, every breed, but I want to say it was unusual to get over 300, and I would say over 250 is pretty much normal.